not crazy about that. Not everyone was crazy about it when I established the award. That's all we'll say about that. But it's a fact. Systemic, unintentional bias is still a problem. Okay? It's not as much of a problem as it was 26 years ago when this award came about, but it's still a problem. So that's why it's still for women. Okay? Solving it is in everyone's interest, guys. It's in your interest too, because if we get to equity, not necessarily equality, but equity, fairness, then this award wouldn't have to be for women, and you'd be eligible for it, and you'd be eligible, we'd all be eligible for all the awards that are for women now. So let's do our part. I'm going to start or continue with a quote. You might see really personal stuff. This is very dangerous. There's The universe is made of stories, not of atoms. It's from a poet named Muriel Rukeyser, whom I came to pretty late in life, and I came to her in this absolutely wonderful quote as a result, as a direct result of what Her Sinus has done for me, which is the title of my talk. So it's perfectly suitable to start with this because I never would have known it had Her Sinus not done for me what it has. And because I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a very abbreviated story of my life and career, starting when I came to Her Sinus. And I want to make it clear that the protagonist, the subject of the story is Her Sinus. It's not I. Okay? I will be telling you about myself, but it's only a vehicle to share what Her Sinus has done for me, and in particular for the students. I'm hoping it'll let you in to a world that of faculty and staff that you simply can't experience because you have to be a faculty or staff member. Right? So it's a different culture. Some of you may go on to careers in higher education, but it's a part of the community of this wonderful institution that we've all shared. Okay? And it's just not possible for you to know it firsthand, so I want to give you a little piece of it. In 1986, almost 30 years ago to the day, Her Sinus took a chance on me by hiring me. Okay? Thank you, people in this room. I wasn't in the best place then. My mother had passed away a couple of months before, and I was without parents because I had lost my father years before. I had no brothers or sisters. I wasn't married, I didn't have children. So I was without blood relatives. I had friends, I did have a lot of friends, okay? And I had resigned from my job because it wasn't working out so well. So I was also jobless when my mother passed away, and I just wasn't in a great place, and Her Sinus was the only offer I got at that point. I might have gotten more had I waited longer, but I certainly had no intention to wait longer. So that's the first thing Her Sinus did for me. Okay? When I came here, I came from a similar liberal arts school, somewhat similar, small, about the same number of students, private, Northeast, and there I had developed a, not a course, a short course for faculty and staff called calculus without formulas. And that was the last thing I did there. I can't even remember how I got the idea, and I kind of picked up on formulas are kind of getting in the way for some people, and the ideas of calculus could be accessible without all the machinery. So I tried it, and I did a faculty seminar, and it worked pretty, a one-week seminar, and it worked pretty well. Then when I came here, I proposed to develop a full course on that, based on that, which was initially called Calculus for the Liberal Arts. And one thing Ursinus did for me was say, go ahead, do it. Okay? And I got some money. I got a grant from the school itself, and I got complete encouragement. And that did develop into a course. It was Math 108, and it was at first called Calculus for the Liberal Arts. It later changed to Humanistic Calculus, and the book that Dr. Volkmer mentioned is a book I wrote just for it. It's self-published, and beautiful cover art, just wonderful cover art. Okay? And through developing this course, I can't begin to tell you what I learned about the history of mathematics, the philosophy of mathematics, mathematics curriculum, mathematics teaching. It just goes on and on and on. So it was just an explosion in my personal growth as a result of the college encouraging me to develop my own idea. And that didn't happen that often back in 1986, and it doesn't happen that often in 2016. It happens a lot less often now. But even then, it was rare and it was precious. Second huge thing that Ursinus did for me, and that leads directly to the award and to that quote, is in the fall of 1987, Dr. Volkmer's first semester here, there was a couple of presentations with some readings. I kind of forget what it was called. Peggy McIntosh, the integrating, right? Remember? Mm-hmm. Okay. And it was based largely on the work of a feminist scholar who was concerned with integrating, with bringing in more women's experiences and women's perspectives and women's histories into the curriculum, throughout the curriculum. And I guess I was interested, and when I went through it, I was even more interested. So the next semester, spring of 1988, there was a reading group that was organized, a faculty reading group on following up on this, and I can't remember if I volunteered or I was invited. I wasn't forced to do it. Okay? Mm-hmm. I did it because I wanted to, which again, in faculty development and faculty's continuing education was rare then and is even rarer now. Okay? So I just want to make a point that what Ursinus did for me is not what other places could have done or would have done or are doing. I joined this reading group, and it was a life-changing experience. Some of the books, I can't explain how. They just reached me and they just shook me. And in particular, this book, Women's Ways of Knowing, the development of self, voice, and mind. And that also changed everything. And this is mentioned in my little biography, my first published paper was called Women's Ways of Knowing and Humanistic Mathematics, a partnership. So there, the two different paths that Ursinus laid out for me and enabled me to take and find more of myself, they met. And then I was still interested in mathematics. I was interested in, still interested in abstract algebra, but I became interested in feminism. I became interested in educational, in all matters of the discipline of education, sociology of education, educational anthropology, history, and I had a colleague here who introduced me to the School of Ed at Penn, where she was finishing her PhD, and I began taking courses there. And what happened is I got very interested in the field of education. And in the year 1992, after that year, I was beginning to think, well, maybe I don't want to be a math professor all my life, which, just a couple of years earlier would have been inconceivable. And also, things were not wonderful in our department back then, were they, Dr. Jessup? They were not harmonious. And I guess I thought, let me get out of Dodge or so. I had, through a colleague I had met at Penn, I got a one-year appointment at Michigan, oh no, I took Michigan State, at Michigan State in the College of Education. I went there and I worked in schools, and I took some courses, and I was fully planning to come back here, but they liked me, I like them, but in particular, I like what I was doing, working in schools. So I got another year's leave. I was still on the faculty here. I got another year's leave and stayed there and began teaching courses. And then